So are there engineers in the house? Can you please put up your hand? We have Arjun putting both his hands up. Sir, Narayanan sir, my mentor, and Timer Jebin. Anybody else? Suraj has put up his hand. Neetu has put up her hand. Okay, thank you so much. And are there any doctors in the house? No? Journalists, writers. Any writers in the house? I can see Nitin. Anybody else who doesn't feel that communication is important? Is there a common thing that is there in every one of these squares in front of me? Is that communication is important. Don't you all agree? Can I have a show of hands to say that you have agreed with what I said? Yes. Whether you're a housewife, whether you are a veteran, whether you're a doctor, an engineer, any profession that you have, an HR, PR, anything, and all those professions that I haven't mentioned. Plus, if you're a student, a housewife, communication is key. You always want to be heard. You want the other person out there to listen, to understand the person that you are. Am I right? You are unique, but how are you going to come up with that? Now, I'd like you to listen to a small story about Maya. Now, Maya, when she was very small, had this very big beaming smile, and her forte was the smiling competition. When she was 5 years old, they would yell, they would call out, Maya from standard LKG A. And Maya would go in her tiny pretty frock right up to the mic, which was adjusted to her height, and give a big smile. And she would win every time. Every stage, she took the stage and she grinned. And she would get it. She would get the first prize, and it was her pride and joy to hold that trophy. But later on, as Maya started growing, she became aware of the audience. Her smiles faltered. When she stood in front of the mic, it scared her. When she got onto the stage, like Joe said, she started having butterflies. She had shivers. She had that feeling that each one of us had at one point or the other. I'm talking to all those people in the group who has a public speaking problem. I'm not talking about the veterans who ace this stage. That we'll come to later. Now, what happens to Maya? She lets her singing voice die in a chorus. She cannot stand alone. When she gets opportunities in college, in other fields, she cannot take those opportunities. But for Maya's sake, there are mentors. There are people like teachers, professors who see her value and who give her opportunities. Maya takes it up, but every time she falters. She's scared, she's terrified, she doesn't want to be seen. Can you believe Maya is a chatterbox? Can you believe outside stage, Maya is the most talkative person? And life goes on. The Maya that I was talking to you about is me. This is mini story. But there is a twist to it. At one point in life, I joined Toastmasters. And when I joined Toastmasters, I can still beam at you. How did I get here? 2 DTMs, 2 NGOs later. How did I get to speak to each one of y'all and get this strength? That is from Toastmasters. Now, how to go about it? Now, you can be a scared Maya like me, or you can be a veteran like Arjun, who took the stage on. I know he has his own stories, but right now he's a veteran. So what happens here is you can either take a skill like public speaking, which is a muscle. You have to understand it is a muscle. The more you work on it, the better you get at it. Now, there are many people who have written obscene number of books about public speaking. Dale Carnegie, Forbes magazine, all of them have counted the Toastmasters organizations as one of the best stages to hone your skill. Now, how come everybody says that? That is because we are a fraternity of people who have come together knowing that we are scared of the stage, or we can do better. One of the two. We can do better, or both together. We are scared of the stage. I want to do better. So that is the difference. We are a community like that. And when a community comes like that, what happens? You create a safe stage, a space on the ground, offline and virtually online, which is so safe that you can make all your mistakes, every single thing. Like me on my first stage, I kept quiet. I wore a mask. I couldn't talk. But that is where it all starts. When you make those mistakes, you get up because your friends are there with you. Your Toastmaster friends, they tell you where to do, what to do, how to do it. So these are the things that you will learn here. But how do you learn those things? Those things you learn by just taking up a role. By just taking up a role in a Toastmaster meeting, you learn to listen. You learn to criticize effectively. Just don't say things. You have to think about the person who's doing his role. You can be a timer, you can be a grammarian, you can be an art counter. But these roles also help you concentrate. Now, can anybody tell me what happens when you concentrate? I have an audience that is looking at me like, teacher, did you just ask me a question? No, I will make your life easier. When you concentrate, your memory increases. Your memory increases by folds, and you are going to exercise it like with every Sudoku or anything you play. You will not get such a huge 2-hour session of memory control. You are noting down things. You are reverting back. Your memory and your capacity to reciprocate increases. Now, there are two things that Nitin was talking about pathways. He was mentioning, what about prepared speeches? Now, prepared speeches for all of you all will be different things, okay, according to the levels that you are. But there is one thing common, that is you learn to speak, you learn to write. And like our next speaker is going to come, he will teach you how to write it, how to put your words into motion. How do you put your words and thoughts into paper? And that solidifying thing of how you're going to present. Now, you can be an engineering student. I went to an engineering classroom, the 7th sem students, and asked them, how many of y'all want to be heard for the next 5 minutes in front of an interviewer? I got full attention, okay? All of them never left their seats. They are like, I am special. I want to get the job. How do I do it? How do I present to the team? How do I present to that group discussion? How do I do it? That is where your prepared speeches come handy. It can be in major, big, life-changing events. It can be when you're talking to your friend and you want to explain something to them. You can come straight to the point instead of someone asking, enda paranya? Like, what is it? What did he mean? So those kind of questions will be taken off. So you will be able to communicate with friends, family, colleagues, teamwork, even people who are higher up, lower down in your own strata very well. Now, the second part of it is impromptu speaking. Now, I have a very funny story that I keep on repeating for all those people who have heard it before. I'm really sorry. So this is that one of my friends told me that he got drunk and he came home and his wife caught him. So the first thing he did is he did an introduction and a subject and a conclusion and convinced her that he was under say, my dear, all this happened while we were going out. Somebody had an accident, so we took him to the hospital. Then he came back and he says he could think on his feet because of impromptu speaking. Now, I don't know how many of you all have realized it, but whenever we start doing table topics continuously, we become very sharp. We might not always use it, but the moment you are doing it, you immediately start giving retorts back. How many of you all have felt it? Toastmasters here. How many of you all have felt if you do impromptu speaking, when you're talking to your friends, the answers are coming like that. When you're talking to your senior, I can see Ajay put up his hand. Yes, very true. Narayan sir, Neetu, all of them have felt it because there is Nia also. And there is that feeling that when you are doing table topics, even listening to it, it is an amazing thing. Now, another thing that happens is, do you know life is a library? Why? Each one of these boxes have a separate Maya story or a Nitin story or a Nanu story. So these are all stories and you get to hear it here. You're having live documentaries. I think one of our friends used to do ambassador card documentaries. One of our friends used to do something else. So we are coming to learn all these in 1 hour time. We have learned so many things instead of going around looking at it. We have done everything correctly. Now, the most evident thing that you will get in a Toastmaster meeting is effective, efficient communication. You become a good leader, isn't it? So that goes on. The hidden values are you learn to make friends, you network, you learn to have respect for other people. You learn how to be, like just as Sergeant says, you can talk about sex and politics, but keep it respectful. There is an audience who loves to listen to you. Let us just respect the other person when we criticize, when we are doing those things. So those are the hidden values. Your memory increases. I could go on. There's only one thing that I would like to leave you with. That is what our founder said, Ralph Smedley said. You learn in the moments of enjoyment. So let us adopt Toastmasters, adapt to it, and achieve all our varied goals in every field. Now I am open for question and answers. Anybody has any questions on Toastmasters?
I request the new members, Neetu, can you just start off with your question?
Hello, madam.
Hello.
Sometimes, actually, I got a lot of points regarding speaking and how it affects communication and everything like that. But previously, then I was thinking of one saying, listening is better. We have to listen more than speaking. But then I thought, okay, you said that the art of speaking is we have to reduce our speech to more people to understand. But I want to know what are your thoughts about this one point. Listening is better than speaking, or you have to listen more than speaking, like that.
It is to be an effective communicator. It is one of the biggest thing is to listen, to talk well. Unless you are listening to you, Neetu, how will I understand what your problem is? How will I understand if I am going to say what I think about it without listening to your point of view? Does that make my communication with you good? Same thing. When you are listening to another person, whether it is as a spectator, as a person in the audience, or as a person who is going to be around, evaluating, or one of the role players, you are going to help that person. How are you going to help that person without listening to them? So it just becomes like an exercise in listening. So this will improve when you go out also. You unconsciously start listening to other people instead of interrupting them. You try to understand what their point of view. So I feel it should go hand in hand. Like you should hold hands with it. While you're speaking, you should also learn to listen. And that is very, very important. I hope that clarifies your question.
Yes, madam. That was really very refreshing and informative.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I can see the red light. If anybody has any doubts, please ping me in the chat box. I will get back to you, or get my phone number from Jose, who will help you out with communicating with me.